Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and what I wanted to do today was actually talk about the Avenger again, and I know I already gave you guys some, kind of initial impressions of it in Arena Commander, but as I've had some more time, I wanted to talk specifically about its combat viability and kind of my impressions now that I've been able to fight more real players instead of just the Vandal. Now, overall, I think the ship's a lot of fun to use. The default setup is okay, though I would suggest putting Bulldogs, maybe Omnisky 3s and 3As on the wings, something outside of the Sucker Punches, just because it's going to give you a little bit more spammability and the kind of that default, or the travel time, the speed of those rounds. It's going to line up better with your Tiger Strike, making it a little bit easier for you to actually land your shot. Now, the Sucker Punches may be great for disabling in the Persistent Universe, or maybe we get more damage states and fancy stuff added into Arena Commander, but right now, I feel like they're a pretty slow-firing option, and they seem to have a slow projectile speed, and when you pair that up with a chain gun like you've got in the Tiger Strike, it just is kind of a hard combination to use together. Now, the only time the Tiger Strike, the nose gun, it's got a spin-up time, and some people are saying that that's an issue for them. They wish that the spin-up time was a little bit less. And the only time I've noticed that really being an issue is when you're seeing an angle on a target for just a brief second, like when you're in a dogfight and you guys are kind of zooming around each other. If you're not just holding down the trigger and spamming those rounds, it is a little bit challenging dealing with that spin-up time. That being said, in most situations, it's relatively easy to avoid getting into those situations and to make that spin-up time a non-issue. And it's kind of been really a fun nose gun to use. It feels pretty unique compared to other ships. Now, I've tried running with all energy weapons. I used the Badger on the nose and the Bulldogs on the wings, so basically it was all laser repeaters. And I had some mixed results. There was a lot of sustained fire. The biggest issue for me was missing those ballistic weapons. It's kind of a downer. I like the combination of having ballistic and energy because they do different things. But I didn't put a whole lot of time into it just because I didn't feel it was super effective. I think that using laser repeaters like Bulldogs along with the default Tiger Strike has, at least for me, been my favorite setup and the one that I've had the most success with to date. Now, the missiles, like all other missiles in Arena Commander, work well. That being said, I haven't really used them that much because I hate being killed by them so much at the moment that I don't want to do it to anybody else. As far as the loadout goes, I wouldn't mind seeing it be able to equip more size 2 weapons on the wings. And I think we're going to actually get that once they kind of fix it. It's a work in progress. The size 1s at the moment feel kind of adequate, but they also feel a little bit anemic at the same time. So maybe it's a good starting point, but you can upgrade to size 2s later. I feel like then all of a sudden you'd have the damage that you would really expect out of kind of a combat ship overall. Now, the ship really has crazy acceleration and deceleration rates, and that's on top of having no mass, apparently, and that's leading to more blackouts than I've experienced in a while. Now, that being said, the thrusters are really strong, and there's pretty limited drift with the ship, so you feel like you've got good control using it, especially when you're using strafe to kind of counter some of that. Now, I typically fly with G-Safe off, but in this ship, I've had a little more success leaving it on because the blackout issues that I've experienced. I don't feel like it's too restricted in its movement when I'm using G-Safe either, which in other ships I've kind of felt like it really slowed me down and wasn't a great option to use. Now, the Avenger gets this really crazy bug, and I'm going to try and put up a video of it, but whenever I get rammed, all of a sudden I'm forced looking down in the cockpit, and it's a really odd, and it pretty much makes you a sitting duck until it reorients. You may be flying into an asteroid, you may be getting targeted, and you can't tell where you're getting shot from. It's a little bit easier to manage with the track IR because you can kind of force yourself to look up out of the cockpit. But for people without that, it's really kind of frustrating to deal with. And I'm not sure if that's a bug or a feature or what it is, but I think it's about 5 seconds where you're forced looking down, though it feels like an eternity because you're just kind of sitting there flying in a line hoping for the best. As far as the durability they go, I think the Avenger feels really strong. When I get into fights, especially with lighter ships like the Mustangs, I can typically absorb enough damage to finish the fight with them ending up being destroyed. It also, I feel like, is on par with things like the Hornet. Now, the Hornet's obviously going to take a little bit more damage, I think, and that's probably expected out of a military versus a police ship. But it is a durable ship. It can take a pretty good beating. The cockpit feels like it can barely be tapped by stuff and it's destroyed, but overall, I feel like you can take a good pounding and walk away from it. All in all, the ship's really fun to fly, and I feel like it's a really solid combat ship. And when you pair that with its cargo and its bounty hunting capabilities, along with some of the new variants that we're going to see coming out, I think it's going to be a great ship in the Persistent universe, and I'm pretty pleased overall with how it's fighting at the moment. I've also done a little bit of racing with it, and I feel like it's a pretty good option, though I'm not a good judge on that because, frankly, I hate the racing side of this game. It's just something I don't enjoy doing. So, there you have it. If you were wondering how well the Avenger holds up in combat, it does a good job. Next up, I think I'm going to be doing a Cutlass version of Combat Viability. I'll give you a sneak peek. So far, it hasn't had a whole lot of success, but it is an interesting ship to fly. But I'm going to give it some more testing, and I'll let you guys all know soon. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and take care.